our dyslexic readers are very intelligent. Every child on this planet can become a strong and confident reader. And the best part, it can be simple, quick, and fun to support your readers at home. We are on a mission to help every single child become a strong and confident reader. And we believe that parents play an enormous role in making that happen and making school a safe place, bringing joy to reading, and helping open up doors for your child's future. Hello, my name is Megan, and I am half of the Developing Readers Academy team, along with Laura, who is what I call my work wife, because I spend just as much time with her as my husband running this business. This is our baby business. Anyways, I'm so excited to be here talking about one of my very favorite things, getting our kids reading. We're talking about a hot button issue right now, something that's still very misunderstood in the early education and early reading community, because a lot of curriculums are still making teachers teach things a certain way that is not necessarily the best way for our brains. Research is showing this is not the best way to do it. So this is an important topic, and I'm really excited about it. Question for you. I want you to think, has there ever been a word that you practiced with your child, and maybe it's even a common word, like the, or was, or of, and they just can't seem to get it? Oh my gosh, how many times have we seen this word? And you just can't, they just can't get it. First of all, you're not alone. It's funny because the short function words, I like to call them function words, can be some of the trickiest ones to learn. And it can be very frustrating for a skilled reader because we might not get it. Okay, the word is the. How can you not get the word the? Let me talk about 3 common mistakes that both parents and teachers make when it comes to teaching these frequent, high-frequency words. These words that we might think are simple and common, they are common, and what we can do instead. So here are some of the mistakes that a lot of people make that is actually hindering their children from mastering these words. Mistake number 1 is a very common one that I am very guilty of, and that is relying on flashcards. So when I taught kindergarten, that's what I did. We would have our curriculum stated, okay, this week you're working on these 3 high frequency words. And I would just sit up in the front of the room and say, this is the, this is like, this is and then we would just go through it. The, like, and, the, like, and. I would never talk about why it's that word. That's the big thing missing. If all we're doing is showing a kid a word and saying, this is the word the, if we're not giving them the why is this the word the, what parts of it make it the word the, we're asking them to just memorize it. And that is not the most effective way to teach our kids how to read. It is not the most effective way to teach our kids how to read. You might be going, oh, but Megan, hold on, hold the phone. A lot of these words you can't sound out. You have to just know them by sight. You have to just know them because you can't sound out the word the. I'm going to say wrong on that one. Every single word can be sounded out. That's what words are. Words are sounds. They're sounds coming out of our mouth. We can sound them out. Sometimes the spelling and the sound are irregular. So the, you don't think of the E spelling the sound. It has a schwa ending. Don't need to get in all the details right now. But normally a lot of kids write the U, which does make sense. We can congratulate them. That's a great sign that they're really listening and thinking, that's a U sound. And that's where we're gonna step in, and I'll show you here in a little bit what to do instead. But every word can be sounded out. Every single word. Doesn't matter the spelling. You can think through the sounds of a word. So I'm gonna pause you on that one if that's what you're thinking. Flashcards, research has shown for a typical brain, it takes between 5 and 100 exposures to memorize a word. And then who knows if your child's actually gonna keep on memorizing that word. You know what I mean? You know how that little fairy comes in the night and ding, word's gone. They don't remember it the next day. Oh, it's so frustrating. Well, there is a better way. Mapping, orthographic mapping is the process your brain goes through. And mapping a word is, you know what, I'm gonna save it. All I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go through mapping here in a little bit, but mapping is shown in a typical brain to take 1 to 5 exposures for it to stick. And once it's mapped in your brain, it's stuck in there. So just those numbers alone, okay, 1 to 5 mappings or 5 to 100 memorizing for a typical brain, it's pretty clear which one is the most efficient for our kids. Mistake number 2. This one I'm very guilty of. I'm guilty of all these mistakes, so if you're going I've done this before, zero judgment. Get better every day. We learn something new and do a little bit better every day. It's all good. This one is jumping in too quickly and giving your child the word. So if your child is working on the word the, which is an easy one to use, you know they're going to struggle with it. So you just give it to them. You're actually doing a little bit of a disservice. We have to let our kids do the heavy lifting. We have to give them a chance and give their brains a chance to get that connection a little bit closer. For some kids, it might take thousands of repetitions before that connection in the brain is fully formed. And we need to give our kids those thousands of repetitions. It can feel very difficult, is a nice way to say it, for parents and teachers, like, can you just read the word the? It's the word the. But their brain needs it. If that's what their brain needs, that's what we need to give them. So don't jump in too quickly. If they really look like they're trying, they want to sound it out, give them a minute, step back. If they read it wrong, cover it up and talk through the word with them. And we'll talk a little bit about the best way to do that. Mistake number 3 is word coffins. Word coffins. Yeah, word coffins. They should be dead. It's not funny. Anyways, word coffin is, let's say the word they. Let's do the word they. It's going to have boxes, rectangles, a tall rectangle, a short rectangle, and a basement, what I call a basement. It goes low for the Y. So it has nothing to do with the sounds. It's all about how tall or short the letters are. So all they're thinking about is, it's basically like a puzzle that has nothing to do with the actual word. So it is very much just asking our kids to memorize based on the height of it. It's not effective, it doesn't help, and it's busy work for our kids, basically, because it's not going to help them master those words at all. So word coffins, no more. So what do you do instead? Let's say you have a high frequency word, a word that is very common. Your child is really struggling with it. And before I jump into what we do instead, if your child is really struggling with high frequency words, you're noticing they do pretty good with like more content specific words, but high frequency words are really challenging for them. This could be an indicator of dyslexia. This is one of the indicators, because our dyslexic readers are very intelligent. So they're able to use context to figure out some of the more content-specific words. I had one student, he was a second grader, he could read words, and I'm saying read in quotation marks because he could figure out words like neighborhood or cars, or he could figure out these more specific words because he was so smart. He was a second grader, he could use pictures, he could use the sentence structure, think about what was going on in the story, but he would really struggle with the high frequency words. And I put him in quotes that he was reading these words because he really was just guessing. If we would have taken the word neighborhood and put it on a piece of paper by itself, he couldn't tell you what it is. But he was very smart and very intelligent, and he would figure out ways to get these words. The problem with that is it took so much energy. He had to really think about it. His reading was very slow because he really had to put these pieces of the puzzle together to figure out these words. But the thing with function words, like the, of, is, you can't use context to figure out these words. You can't use pictures to figure out these words. There's no amount of intelligence that's going to lift these off the words for you because they're function words. They don't have true meaning behind them. The word the doesn't have a picture you can make in your head of what it is. So if your child, you're like, this makes no sense. They can read neighborhood, but they can't read the. That is one indicator to be aware of. So what do we do instead? What do we do instead of flashcards, instead of word coffins, instead of just telling our kids the words all the time? I always go back to, in my brain, I go speech to print, which is a great book by Louisa Moats. It's very deep. This is a deep book. It takes a lot of brain power to read this one. She is such an intelligent woman. I tell Laura all the time, I hope I can speak like her one day because she just comes across as highly intelligent. She's amazing. But this is what you want to think, speech to print. We want our kids to be thinking speech, sound, and then spelling. So get to the word the. We've been using it. Let's do it again. The. Have them do that. Have them take a piece of paper and tap out. How do we spell the sound? And if you've been working on connecting sounds and spellings, they hopefully will go, TH spells the th. If not, that's a sound you can work on. Totally makes sense. Th is TH. This might be our heart part. It sounds like a U spells but it's not. This is going to be our E spells in the word the. And then you're going to cover it up and say, okay, what were the sounds? Th, Okay, try to spell it now and have it covered so they're not looking. Th, TH, what was the E? Do it 5 times. Keep covering it. And then check it. Are you right? Yes. Words like would, could, should. I would group these together. Okay. These are commonly tricky words because they have that O-U-L in there, making the sound. Like, what's going on here? It has all to do with the history of the words, where the words come from. There's silent letters. It's all good. It's all good. We can figure these out. I would group them together and say, wow, they all have the same part. Would, could, should. Do the sounds first. W, d. 3 sounds. Could, k, ud. 3 sounds. Should, sh, ud. 3 sounds. Point out the sounds that make sense. Okay, would, woo. Oh, W, that totally makes sense. Would, d. D totally makes sense. And then you're going to talk about that middle part. The middle part is the interesting part. O-U-L, spelling the I would put a little heart above it and say, this part we're going to know by heart. For would, could, and should, I love bringing out a rubber ducky. And I say, oh, you lucky ducky. That's how we're going to remember. O, U, and then lucky ducky is the LD. So that's the whole ending. So they can have a little visual of this little duck. Oh, you lucky ducky. O-U-L-D is one little trick. It's really cute and it can help with would, could, should. But the main premise is say the sounds first. You could put a dot, you could put a line, and just say how many sounds? 3. Then think about how to spell each sound one at a time. Think about that heart part. Have them cover it up, then check it, cover it up, then check it. And I would do that 5 times in a row. So they're writing it 5 times. I would do that the next day. I would do that the next day. As many days as they need. Because again, some kids will need repetition. If your child is dyslexic, they might need a lot of repetition. And you just got to give it to them. And it can feel frustrating. And it can feel like, is this even working? But it is. I imagine just every day, and with your child, tell them this. Every day, you're getting those connections a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. It might not feel like it in the moment, but you are. You're doing that for your child. This is just a simplified version of going from speech to print. This is a much better way to teach high frequency words. Much better way than holding up flashcards, just telling them the word or word coffins. Let's go speech to print. Let's get our kids reading. Laura and I are on a mission to help as many families and children as we can. We do have some freebies. We would love to give you freebies. In fact, we give out a freebie every single week on our email list. If you are interested in joining our email list and getting weekly freebies sent right to your inbox, go ahead. I'm going to put a link below where you can go in. You just put in your first name, your email, and then you'll start getting these freebies sent right to your inbox. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this was helpful and keep reading.